Hey guys, and welcome to the 8th video for C++ for Beginners. Sorry it's been a while, but it's been a bit of a hectic couple weeks. But I'm back, and we can continue on with what we're doing and learning some C++. So today I just want to cover a very basic thing called debugging. Now this is basically a way for us to go into our program while it's running and take a look at all our variables and see what is going on if you have some sort of error. So we should call this debugging for obvious reasons. And we should go ahead and make sure it's empty. Make a CPP file here. Don't add the E. Hit that by accident. But whatever. So I'm just going to throw in a basic program here. Some basic stuff. And we're just going to create an array called int array. And we're going to give it 10 elements. And we're just going to have 2 for loops. So the first one's going to set all the values to whatever number, basically whatever your index is. So it goes to 10. Increase it by 1. And then for each item at that index I, it's going to equal the number I. And then the next one. Remember, I'm just running through this because I didn't pause the video. And I can't pause real life yet. Here, just see this. Int array. And then a little comma to separate them. And actually, so I'm sure some of you have already seen the mistake I threw in there on purpose, but just type it in as you see it. Okay? I want to make sure you guys see what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how we could fix it. So to start a debug mode, whenever we hit F5 or click on the plus, or not the plus, the start button here, see how it says start debugging? We're running in debug mode. Now if we were to have a breakpoint, which is basically when you click on the far left here, you get this little red dot. You can also go debug, go down to toggle breakpoint, or F9, to set a breakpoint on whatever line you're on. Now if you're not in Visual Studios, it might be a little bit different. You might have to, you probably can still click or right click here and select breakpoint or debug, find some sort of breakpoint or something else. I'm not sure. For whatever system you are, you'll have to find that out. But for this is how you do it. Now, sorry. I lost where I was. Right. So if we were to go debug, so there's our start with debugging. There's also an option to do a, it's called release, not release, just to basically skip over any breakpoints we have. If we know, okay, I fixed all my problems, I have breakpoints all over the place, Control F5 will just run over top of them without caring. And we've already covered this a little bit, but that's basically the difference. Now, I'm going to get rid of this breakpoint, just so that we can, if you can't figure out how to, I just made your breakpoint one up, but then I'm going to get rid of it. But if you can also right click and delete. Now, if you can't figure out how to get rid of it, just watch this and we'll see what happens when I run this. That's a whole lot of nothing. Now, there's, like I said, there's an obvious error that I threw in there, and we're just gonna try and figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna throw my breakpoint back in, and just hit F5 again to start in debug mode, which is the arrow, the play button. Alright, so what do we got here? We've got our breakpoint, which now has a fancy yellow arrow on it. The yellow arrow is just indicating what line we are currently running at. The program has already run over all these lines. It is stopped here where our breakpoint was. We also have some windows down on the bottom here, which these are basically, this window here is showing things about our variables in our program. Autos is just a selection of variables that we currently have available to us. Locals is kind of the same thing. It's a little different that we'll see later. And watch is basically where you can enter in a variable or some sort of condition and see what it turns out to be. We'll do that. We'll do some of that stuff later. There's also a call stack. This is basically you get to see if we had a lot of functions going on. We could see what's been called just before where we are. Now there's a bunch of stuff that you won't understand, but we'll cover that maybe later. What I want to do is go back to our locals or autos, whatever one you feel comfortable with, I guess. And just take a look that we have our I variable, which is this int, which hasn't been set up yet, so it's got this junk value, and it's integer type. We also have our integer array, which the value is that's the location in your RAM, so don't worry about that, and that it's an integer with 10 elements. You can also click this plus and take a look at every single element in that array, which is also kind of cool, but they're all junk right now. So I'm just going to hit, oh, I'm not going to hit, okay, so I'm just going to show you, you have these buttons up here. They're basically how you move about your program now that you're in this mode, because now you have to do it by yourself. There is step into, there is step over, and there's step out. Now if we had a lot of functions, which maybe I'll do, you could see that, but we're just going to use the step over to go to the next line. Step in jumps into a method, and step out gets out of a function. We don't want to do either of those for now. So I'm just going to click this because I learned the hard way F10 is not very nice with my video capturing software. Alright, so what do we got here? So first thing that happens is we create our integer, I, equals to 0, but we have a 10. Now notice how it's red. This basically means it was the last thing, it just recently changed. Now I notice right away that it's 10 because this here should not be equal to, because that's going to set it. Because then I'm going to say, okay, we'll do the next line. I keep going to press that button. We'll step over again. And our in array, you can see, at 10, oh, it's not even at 10, is trying to set it at 10. And we don't have an array at 10. So this is just trying to show us, hey, you're trying to change I, which doesn't exist. Which is very weird that it's trying to do that. That's actually super dangerous. I'll tell you why in a second. So it comes back up here, and it's just going to basically sit there and try and do the same thing over and over again. So that's where we messed up. This is actually a very bad program, and I'm very sorry for actually making you run this. What is happening here is, because we're in debug, it's a little bit safer, where we're actually using memory that we don't own. We have an array of 10 from 0 to 9, and I'm trying to access the 10th one, which doesn't exist for us. So this is actually touching memory that's not technically ours. So I'm just going to stop this because it's dangerous. But we're going to fix this. We're just going to change the equals to a less than, because it's a conditional thing. What I meant to do was the equals to try and, yeah, but just fix it to what it's supposed to be. Now I'm just going to run in debug mode again, and we can see all our stuff again. Keep slowly creeping this up. So we step over, and okay, int is 0 like it's supposed to be. We step over, the first integer is given 0. Step over again. Goes back up to the, because it's a loop, so it's gonna go back up. Goes back up, change. it's going to call this plus plus here. So now we've got I as 1, step over, now it's going through properly. So if I wanted to be like, okay, I fixed it, let me continue, you click on the, you basically click this button again, or this one, doesn't matter. Now it's just going to run as it would. Now since we're in debug, it finished and kicked us out. So I'm just going to control F5 it, so we can actually see everything was done properly. So I'm just going to cover one more thing here. Now notice that we gave the breakpoint at line 7. I'm also going to tie this one here at 14. If we run debug again, notice how the debug point is now at 9. If you place a breakpoint on a line that is just creating a variable, it's going to skip it for you, because you can't really watch it get made. Well, you can, but it's going to skip anyways. So we have our breakpoint here at the for loop. It's technically at the beginning of the for loop, and every time we come back, I just run over here, it's going to now call these two lines. It's kind of complicated, but that's just how it works. It's basically going to call your condition statement and your increasing statement at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but because we step over it, it does them both. But since I have this second breakpoint and I hit the continue button, it'll stop at my next breakpoint. So you can have just breakpoints all over the place, and every time you click on it, it just brings you to the next spot. Now, like I said, because this one is for just the for loop, I have this breakpoint here. Every time I click continue, it'll just continue. It'll just come down, go up, call these two, come back into this line, and stop. Or we're just gonna get rid of them all and just continue. So it's kind of complicated. It's kind of rushing because this is the second time I've had to do this video because I hit the wrong button and I stopped everything. But that's a little bit about breakpoints and debugging. I just want to make sure you guys have this. That way, if you guys are following me along or you're doing your own program and something goes wrong, if you're watching my video, pause it, throw a breakpoint in, see if you could figure it out for yourself. If you can't, throw in a comment down below and I'll get to you and see if I can help you out. Or watch the rest of the video, or if you're doing something else, again, throw breakpoints in, maybe go online and try and figure out what's going on. But that's all for today. We're going to cover some other stuff tomorrow, or the next video, whenever I decide to do it, which will be soon, I promise. But I'll see you then. Stupid button. Now you don't let me do it.